Hi everyone. So we recently put out a Q&A on Instagram. So I put together this video to go through and give my answers to those questions. If you've got follow-up questions or any questions in general, then please post them in the comments below or send us a direct message. So question number one, hand placement on strict ring muscle ups. Should it be high up on the rings or not? So the answer is no. Your hands should not be high up on the rings. Your hands will be very slightly up the side of the rings, but not too high. And the reason they won't be too high is because it will make the transition phase of a strict ring muscle up significantly more difficult. So for those of you that don't know what the transition phase is, the transition is once you've done the pull-up and you're here in the top of pull-up position, you move from here into the bottom of dip. So from here to here is the transition. Now, if you're here and your hands are really high up on the rings, it's going to make this transition significantly more difficult. Now, pair that with the fact that the transition is anyway the most difficult part of a strict ring muscle up, you're going to make it much more difficult than it needs to be. Okay, so the short answer is no, your hands do not need to be high up on the rings, just very slightly up the side. Question two, what's the best drill to master a freestanding handstand? I can handstand walk well, but can't stand for hell. Okay, nice rhyme. So look, you're in the same boat as 99% of people. And the simple reason for this is when you handstand walk, you're actually always out of balance. So you're always falling over the top, and in order to stop yourself from actually falling, you just step with your hands. Okay, so your hands are stepping in order to keep up with your momentum. Now that's fine for handstand walk, but the problem is you don't develop the right level of balance and stability that you need in order to do a freestanding handstand hold. So in terms of the best drill, it's difficult for me to say for the simple reason that I don't know at what point of your training you're at. So I don't know if you can already do a wall-facing handstand hold. I don't know if you can do a freestanding handstand hold for maybe 5-10 seconds. So it depends where you are in the spectrum. But most people are somewhere in between a wall-facing handstand and a freestanding handstand. So I'll give you two drills that are really good for those, that kind of in-between phase. Number one is a lateral wall-assisted handstand hold. And the second is a forearm-assisted handstand hold. So I won't go into detail trying to explain what they are, but I think we posted them both on our Instagram channel in the past, or look, just jump on Google or YouTube and put them in, and I'm sure you'll find various videos to show you what they are. The last thing I'll say on this is simplicity is key. Okay, there's hundreds of different drills out there. A lot of them are just reinventing the same thing. So keep it simple. I've just given you two really good drills. I promise you that if you just focus on them consistently and do your accessory work, then you will develop a freestanding handstand. It will take a long time. It's not going to be quick, but you will get there by doing those two drills. Okay, so don't overcomplicate it. Don't go on the internet looking for hundreds of different drills because you're just gonna stall your progress. Question number three, can ring muscle ups be learned using a TRX at home? I've never experimented with this. I'm sure they can be. I think there's a lot of transferability between a TRX and the rings. But as I said before, simplicity is key. So if you want to learn a ring muscle up, you need to do drills on the rings. It's as simple as that. If you're asking this question because you're in lockdown and you haven't got access to a set of rings, but you've got access to TRX, then by all means try and replicate the drills on a TRX. Because like I said, I do think there's transferability between the two. And if that's the best you've got, then great, by all means go and do it. But if you have got a set of rings, then I think you should just stick to the rings. Question number four, how to stop lower back pain during handstand walk. So that this is almost certainly due to incorrect positioning. So you're probably in an extended arch position, which is going to put a lot of pressure in your lower back. So you need to fix your alignment, you need to be in a straight line, and you need to keep posterior pelvic tilt engaged, which basically means tucking your pelvis underneath. If you're not sure exactly what I mean by posterior pelvic tilt, then again, just put it into Google, and there'll be a really good video or image that explains what you need to do. Next one, is it okay if form breaks down towards the end of a workout when you're fatigued? So it is to an extent, because when you get towards the end of a workout and you're fatigued, those reps are also important because they're the ones that are gonna build you that endurance that you need. Okay, so if you stop every time your form isn't perfect, it's gonna be difficult to build that endurance. Now, having said that, I always tell people to go for 100% perfect technique, 100% perfect form, because I know that when they get towards the end of the set and they're tired, that's going to drop down to 80-70% anyway. Now, if I tell you that 80% is okay, then you're going to start at 80%. And by the time you get to the end of the set, you're going to be on 50, 40%, which isn't good. Okay, because that's when you start to pick up injuries and things. I think to summarize, it's okay to an extent. Yeah, I think aim for perfect form the whole time. Yeah, now if it does start to break down a little bit towards the end of the set, then it's okay. I think it also depends on the movement, right? So, you know, if you're doing strict toes to bar and your form starts to break down a bit, then that's not so much of an issue as it would be if you were doing kipping ring muscle ups, for the simple reason that a kipping ring muscle up is much more of a dynamic movement. So if your form starts to break down too much, you're a bit more prone to picking up injuries or just little niggles. So it depends on the movement, but generally it's okay if your form breaks down a little bit towards the end of a workout, but you shouldn't be planning for it to happen because it will happen naturally anyway. What's more important for CrossFit gymnastics, volume or intensity? So you need both, and it also depends on at what point you are during your training, if you're peaking towards a competition, right? So if you're close to a competition, you tend to lower the volume and increase the intensity. But generally speaking, for CrossFit gymnastics, you need to build muscular endurance. You know, the one differentiator between, you know, bad, good, and great is muscular endurance. Yeah, now technique is important because that's how you become efficient, and strength is important because that's kind of your base for muscular endurance. But without good muscular endurance, you're never going to be able to do, you know, like 20, 30, 35, whatever it is, kipping ring muscle ups. Okay, you can have the best technique in the world, but if you haven't got that muscular endurance and you haven't got that kind of basic fitness, you're not going to be able to do it. And in order to get that muscular endurance, you need volume. Okay, you don't really get that muscular endurance from intensity. Okay, so you need both, but I would say volume is definitely more important. Next question: how much strict gymnastics should I be doing compared to kipping? You know, you should be doing just as much strict as you are kipping. You need that base level of solid body weight, strength and conditioning, because it will transfer over to your kipping tremendously. You know, it does depend on the athlete. You know, if you've already got phenomenal basic body weight, strength and conditioning, but your kipping isn't good because you've got bad technique, then obviously you're going to do less strict and you're going to focus more on your kipping technique. But most people that I come across when I do the seminars and programming just need more basic strict work so they can get stronger, and that transfers incredibly well to kipping movements. Okay, so most people, you want to be doing at least as much strict work as you're doing kipping, but probably even more. Next question, I think this is the last one. So how long does it take to get a freestanding handstand hold? So look, I don't know if you're talking about a 20-second handstand hold or a 60-second handstand hold, which obviously is a big difference. So look, let's say you're aiming for a 20 to 30-second freestanding handstand hold, and you want to be able to do that consistently. So it's not holding it for 5 seconds 3 times and then getting 20 seconds once. You want to do 20 to 30 seconds consistently. You know, for most people, it's probably going to be somewhere between 6 months to a year. Now, that probably sounds like a long time, and it is, but it's not an easy skill to get, okay? Especially if you do it properly, and it does take time. So just on this note, you know, you're going to have to be patient. You need to be consistent, okay? You know, I would always say when you're doing something like a handstand, which is skill training, it's better to do 5 15-minute sessions, 10 to 15-minute sessions per week than do 2 longer 45 to 60-minute sessions per week. Yeah. Now, if you add up the total volume, the two longer sessions, you're going to get more total time in the week doing handstands than you would if you were to do 5 shorter sessions. But that 5 shorter sessions gives you the consistency that you need when developing skill training. Okay, so a handstand isn't so much about strength and muscular endurance. It's about skill training, and that skill training is about that kind of neurological adaptation of learning the skill. In order to do that, you need consistency. So look, be consistent, be patient, build a good foundation. If you've got that, then look, it can take 6 months. You know, again, it depends on the person. If you've got a good base level of talent, or you've got a background in bodyweight sports, or you're just generally fit and healthy, then it'll take you less time. But it can easily take up to a year, maybe even longer than that if you're really starting from the bare minimum. Okay, so I think, look, that wraps up the questions we had this week. If you've got, like I said, if you've got follow-up questions or there's any other questions you would like us to cover the next time we do this, then please post them in the comments below or send us a direct message, and we'll do our best to accommodate. Thanks. Thanks.